Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here and tuning in. This week I'm excited to announce another great artist. Her name is Tessa. She's from Arizona and she's an amazing oil painter and she does this cool impressionistic style. So this is what you're going to be learning today from this tutorial. I hope you'll enjoy it. All the materials she'll be using today, I'll link them down below in the description. Also, if you'd like to see more of her artwork and what she's up to, I'll also link her pages down below for you guys. And remember, if you do recreate this tutorial or any of my other tutorials, please be sure to use hashtag ColorByFeliks so that we can see your recreation and share it with our community. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to stay tuned for more. Alright guys, enjoy the lesson.
Hello, my name is Tessa Nicole. I'm an Impressionist palette knife oil painter in Arizona, and today I'm going to be walking you through how we're going to create this Impressionist eucalyptus tree and create it solely with palette knife. So first I start out with a really rough sketch of kind of where I'm thinking the tree is going to go and where the background foliage will be as well. So here we have our color palette. We've got ultramarine blue, sap green, ivory black, titanium white, gray blue, blue green, yellow, orange, yellow ochre, violet, viridian, burnt umber, and burnt sienna. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my titanium white with just a tiny bit of that gray blue and a touch of the blue green, and that's going to be for my sky. If you hear random noises in the background, it's because of my 3 cats. I'm so sorry. So now I'm just using the flat of the palette knife to sweep that background into place. And I'm just going to be kind of color blocking the edges that don't have my little tree sketch. Now I'm going to be taking that blue and I'm going to be adding some black and some white to it along with the blue-green. And this is going to be for my mountain range in the background. And as you can see, we already got that sky color blocked in. So we're just going to get that mixed up, grab a scoop, and go at it with that mountain. There's no real specific form it has to take. It's your choice. I like dramatic, high, arched mountains, but if you like a subtle, lower to the ground mountain, that works as well. I'm adding another mountain in front of it with a little bit more highlights. And now we're going to start working on the actual tree. So we'll grab some of that burnt sienna. Make sure it's nice and blended. And just start where the trunk is. And you do not have to do this very carefully necessarily. Because it's Impressionist, we have the right to be messy. So have at it. Have fun, and just kind of go where the branches feel like they would be natural. And we did that rough sketch first, so I have a general idea, but you're free to go out of the bounds as much as you want to. And I'm grabbing some of that burnt umber and I'm taking it to the left to create another tree. It's not going to be quite as prominent, but it'll just add a nice depth perception, fill out the canvas. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to be creating the highlights for the tree. So I'm taking the orange, yellow, ochre, and white and mixing that all together. And those are going to be where the sun is hitting more so on that right tree. So just grab a strip of that and we're just going to glide it down. There's no real specific areas that you have to put it. It's where your brain thinks the light's going to hit. So go crazy with it. That's up to you. You are the creator of this. Now I took some more white and added it to that mixture, and I'm adding where even more light's going to be hitting. If you look at eucalyptus trees, you'll notice that their bark has a lot of different colors in it. Sometimes there are actually rainbow eucalyptus trees. That's not necessarily what we're painting, but if you want to, go for it. It would look super cool. I'm gonna add it to that tree on the left too. Give it some depth. All right, now I'm gonna grab some of that ivory black and I'm gonna add it to the base of the trunk. These are gonna be the parts that are more shadowed. You don't want to add too much or else you'll end up losing all of that burnt sienna that we used as the main background colors, but just enough to show shadow. And now what I'm doing is I'm using the very corner of my knife and adding some delicate branches here and there. You can make them as thick as you want, thin as you want, throw them anywhere. Trees are so unique every time, so make it unique to you. And I think I want to add a branch kind of hanging down closer toward that mountain. So I'm just going to droop it down, add some branches, make it more dramatic. Now I'm adding more yellow ochre to that previous mixture, and this is going to be for our ground. If you've ever seen pictures or if you've been to Australia and seen the eucalyptus trees, you'll notice that they are usually on a very orange terrain. And it complements the tree very well. Now I added white to that mixture and that's going to be kind of this little dirt road that I'm going to add just at the bottom here. I like to add some sort of pathway to a lot of my landscapes because, one, it makes you feel like you could go there, and two, because it helps add some perspective. Just some pure titanium white here. Just sweeping it along. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of Impressionism. We can be as messy as we want. I grabbed some burnt umber. I'm just going to be adding some darker terrain around the edges. It's good to have that contrast. Don't be afraid to blend it in too. That's important with Impressionism. Blending, you have to remember that it doesn't have to be perfect blending, and you don't want to have it too blocky either. So there's just this nice messy medium. I added more orange to that mixture, as you can see, and I'm bringing it a little higher of that pathway. I'm going to put some burnt sienna in the corner. Mixing white and black, making a bit of a dark gray, and that's going to be underneath my tree trunk there. I'm going to add some more of that black to kind of the background behind my pathway, and that's going to help draw our eyes upward. It also helps with showing the depth. Now I grabbed that viridian, and what I'm going to be doing here is just kind of color blocking in where I want my trees to go. I don't want to focus too much on them right now. I'll get to them a little later. So we're just going to fill them in with the color and go back in with detail a little bit later. Grabbing some more black. And that's going to be for the background. This is what's going to help draw our eyes upward. Now here I grabbed the sap green, blending in the black with the green, messily of course. These are just going to be some freestanding bushes and trees in the background. I'm leaving some of these white parts open so that I can add my brighter yellow trees. So this is yellow ochre that I'm using right now. All right, and now what I'm showing is I'm just quickly blending everything in, and I'm also going to be taking that sap green and viridian and adding just a hint to where the leaves are going to be. Now I'm grabbing the tip of my knife and getting a delicate amount of that green and just creating small individual leaves. And that green mixture is sap green and white. So after I've kind of color blocked in where I want my leaves to be, then I'm just going to go in and make individual leaves. And you can add them anywhere. You can make the trees full or as not full as you want. That's up to you. The important tip I can give you when you're doing these little individual leaves is that the cleaner your knife, the better. You don't want to do too many leaves and then not wipe off your knife, because then all of the colors will get muddled together. So I usually do about 10 to 20 leaves per pickup of paint, if that makes sense. And then I clean my knife and then I dip back in. I'm keeping the majority of my leaves just surrounding the branches. I'm not necessarily putting them on the branches quite yet. I'll go back in with another color later. All right, now I took my Viridian. Well, I'm adding more Viridian, and I'm going to use that for the more shadowed leaves here and there. Viridian is such a cool color because straight out of the tube, it's super dark and makes beautiful contrast colors. But if you add even just the slightest touch of white, it radically changes and it becomes this vibrant teal. It's so cool. I like to call this method the block and dot effect. So how I color blocked in where I wanted the leaves to be on my tree, and then I went back in with more detail and made little individual dots. I do this with pretty much all of my paintings. It gives almost a pointillism impressionist effect. Lots of texture. and now what I'm doing is I'm just adding highlights to those areas with lake green for the trees and then a little bit of yellow ochre at the top. And now I took that gray blue and I'm going to be adding some more color to our tree trunk and stems. And the reason I'm doing this is because, like how I said, eucalyptus trees show a lot of different colors, and while I'm not doing the rainbow one, I do like to add some kind of unexpected color here and there. You'll also notice to the left of the canvas, I added kind of a sad little tree. You can add that if you want. It's not necessary. If you wanted to show your mountain more, you could do that. I like to have as many plants as I can, but if you want to accent the mountain, you absolutely could do that. But I'll get back to that tree a little later and clean it up a bit. All right, now what I'm doing is I'm adding some vermilion to my palette, which is kind of a really, really vivid mix of red and orange. And I added some white to that, and I'm just putting some tiny little pink streaks on the tree. And then I'm just grabbing straight vermilion and adding some little red plants to my background foliage. Just adds a nice pop of color. I just mixed, it's mostly titanium white here for these little highlights, but with a touch of that yellow ochre. And I'm just kind of going through where I think the light would be hitting these plants. Just adding some nice messy touches here and there. You can use whatever accent colors you want to. That is totally up to you. I grab some of that violet, and that creates another unexpected but coordinating contrast. And now I'm going to really be going at it with these accent colors. So I'm going to be using this lovely lake green, the viridian, titanium white, and yellow. So first what I'm doing is I'm going to mix up the lake green, make sure it's all blended nicely and smoothly, and then I'm just going to grab it with the tip of my knife and go at some of these leaves on the tree. And you know how I mentioned that I wasn't really getting on the branches? Well, now I am. I'm gonna go right on top of some of these branches. It shows that there's more depth to the tree, that these leaves are a little bit closer to us. I'm just gonna spread the lake green in a few different areas in the foliage. Just with the tip of my knife, giving that pointillism effect. And you'll really be able to see the texture with this. Cleaning up that little left tree. Right now I'm grabbing my yellow and I'm going to mix it with my blue-green. And I'm going to add some white to it as well. And this is going to create a beautiful lime green. I love using this color for accents. And highlight. Look how bright it is. Wherever you imagine the light hitting, it could be anywhere. It could be totally unexpected. is my cat. Okay, now mixing yellow and white, creating a nice pale yellow. And I'm going to highlight just a few areas of the leaves, showing that the light's hitting those more. Make the tree twinkle a bit. See how much it adds? The highlights and the accent colors are the most important part. And when you do this dot effect, it really makes it stand out. I'm grabbing more Viridian and I'm going to be adding some more contrast because we added so many highlights and now it's time for some lowlights. I'm just kind of messying up my little pathway. Don't want it too perfect. It is Impressionism. Fix that tree. I'm just adding some very pale blue to the ground. And there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me in creating this Impressionist eucalyptus tree.